Harry, who's that standing next to the Queen? Is that a servant? That's what Harry wrote in his book Spare. How stupid is this man that he actually believes it? Or is it that he wanted to believe it?
Meghan Markle, as previously having been a quote yacht girl, there have been more revelations going viral from the past. And I want to show you this.
She was a yacht girl. That's right. It's mentioned in the book. Meghan used to entertain as a yacht girl.
Prince Andrew was arrested 2 days ago.
Britain's former Prince Andrew. The
reports are that Prince Andrew, the former Prince Andrew, has been arrested.
His phones have been seized. His computers are being searched. His documents are sitting in an evidence room somewhere in England right now.
Meghan, this is historic. There has not been a crisis like this in 90 years.
And somewhere in Montecito, California, a woman who spent the last 8 years making sure her pre-royal past stayed buried, just realized that the one man who could confirm every rumor about her is now sitting across from a detective with absolutely nothing left to lose.
Whoa, okay. The house and habit bombshell investigation into Meghan Markle is close to dropping.
This isn't about Andrew. Not anymore. This is about what Andrew knows about Meghan Markle. And the story starts long before anyone had ever heard of a Duchess of Sussex.
A man called Kevin Blatt. Now, he is a celebrity tape broker, ladies, where he describes a 2018 call from a woman claiming to possess a 4-year-old tape of a Meghan who is about to marry a prince.
Her name is Meghan, and she's about to marry a prince in England.
No, what?
Yeah, this story's not true, too. It is true. I believe this is Meghan.
This is Karina Shuliak, Epstein's girlfriend.
And the only times she traveled and went anywhere was with him. And guess who's on the other end with her Panama hat?
You already know Andrew was arrested. Every channel has covered that. But here's the part that matters more than the handcuffs. When police execute a search warrant, they don't browse. They take hard drives, laptops, phones, USB sticks, filing cabinets, anything that stores data.
We really never thought we'd see anything like this. There are currently 2 teams of police on the King's estate searching the King's property.
And they took from 2 properties, one in Windsor, one in Norfolk. That means somewhere in an evidence room right now, there are decades of Andrew's private communications. Names, numbers, photos, travel records, guest lists, the people he socialized with, the events he attended, the circles he moved in, all of it sitting on a detective's desk waiting to be open. The arrest itself is a legal matter.
I certainly think, this guy, Andrew, what he's done to this family is absolutely appalling, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Misconduct in public office, confidential documents, all of that will play out in court. But the seizure, that's a different animal entirely because seized material doesn't come with boundaries. Investigators pull the thread they came for and everything else attached to it comes out. 2. Every conversation Andrew ever had about his social life, his associates, his guests, all of it is now accessible. And if your name happens to be somewhere in those files connected to events you've spent years trying to make disappear, you don't need a lawyer. You need a miracle.
And I wonder if Prince Andrew's going to come out and say, hey, Harry, I did your wife quite a few times on yachts before you got her.
Long before Meghan Markle walked down the aisle at Windsor Castle, she lived in a very different world.
She'd been a Deal or No Deal girl. She was calling herself a model, and she was starring in a show Suits. She used to charge almost $30,000 per trip, which is why she was making good money. It wasn't on Suits, it was on her yachting trips.
Hollywood wasn't kind to newcomers, and Meghan knew that better than most. Between small roles on television and red carpet charity appearances, she was building a network, the kind you don't build at auditions. You build it at private dinners, at members-only clubs, and according to persistent reports that have circulated for years, on yachts, not fishing boats.
Meghan Markle was known as a hardcore yacht partying person, ready for anything.
The kind of yachts that cost more per weekend than most people earn in a year. The kind anchored off Mediterranean coastlines filled with billionaires, financiers, and the sort of people who don't appear in any guest list.
And here we have Andrew, with whom looks like Marcus Anderson. This is in 2001, when Meghan Markle would have allegedly been on third year. Meghan Markle hardly spent any time at Northwestern University.
Reports, and I want to be clear, these have never been proven, claim Meghan attended elite yacht gatherings during her pre-royal years, the kind where introductions were made not with business cards, but with favors, where reputations were built not on talent, but on access, and where the lines between networking, socializing, and something else entirely were not always clearly drawn. Now,
many things in Meghan's past, I think, are patchy at best. And she is going to be worried about this because, again, the mainstream media have not reported on the fact Meghan Markle was friends with Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend.
Independent investigators have been tracking this story for the better part of a decade. One insider involved in the research described the situation with a line that's hard to forget. Scorpions don't sleep. They plot sometimes for years. The suggestion that the full picture of Meghan's pre-royal connections has been deliberately assembled over time, piece by piece, waiting for the right moment. And if you're wondering what the right moment looks like, a royal prince sitting in custody with his entire digital life in police hands is a pretty strong candidate.
Jessica Reed-Krause writes, I have all the scrubbed info. Soho, Epstein connections. Now that is clearly a reference to Soho House. Photos and mistreated staff as meaning anonymous sources detailing what it's like to work for her.
One name that keeps surfacing in these conversations is Ron Burkle, a billionaire investor who was photographed alongside Meghan at the opening of a Soho House location in Istanbul in 2015. Multiple investigators have pointed to that gathering as a crossroads event, a moment where Hollywood networking met a much darker social orbit. Burkle's name has appeared in other investigations, too. Ones that overlap uncomfortably with the same circles that ultimately brought Andrew down.
Sarah Ferguson attended Kominski's wedding in Jamaica in 2017. Meghan Markle was flown in private plane, allegedly belonging to Ron Burkle. Harry flew economy plus from the United Kingdom to Jamaica. And Fergie, Eugenie, and allegedly Andrew were at that wedding.
One observer noted something peculiar about Burkle. He was always photographed in the same outfit regardless of the event or the year. The theory: it made it harder to pin down when and where specific photos were taken. Whether that's paranoia or planning depends on how much you trust the people in those rooms. And then there's the question everyone keeps coming back to. How does a working actress on a cable television show in Toronto end up at gatherings where the entry price starts at 7 figures? Connections like that don't happen by accident. They're curated. They're facilitated. And according to one investigator who spent years studying these patterns, Meghan wasn't just attending these events. She was reportedly being introduced to specific people by specific people in a way that suggests the connections were arranged, not accidental.
You know, this is what Meghan has been doing. She's a piece of Klingon, you know, like she clings to somebody who can get her there. So Meghan manages to befriend one person of a very popular group, and then that person introduces her to the others. And that because that she's being brought in by somebody they trust, she's welcomed in.
Whether those introductions were connected to a network that Andrew is part of remains unproven, but the overlap in names, places, and dates is difficult to dismiss as coincidence. But here's the part of this story that doesn't get asked enough. If investigators have been assembling this picture for 8 years and credible journalists are now openly discussing it on camera, why has no mainstream outlet touched it? There is one person who tried to make this story impossible to ignore. Her name was Virginia Giuffre. She was the woman at the center of the case that forced Andrew into a £12 million settlement. She was taken advantage of as a teenager, exploited by powerful men, and she spent years fighting through the courts to be heard.
The Virginia Giuffre book, Prince Andrew believed it was his birthright to have sex with me. It's a horrible, horrible quote. It shows just how entitled this man really was to these things.
In 2025, at the age of 41, she passed away. After Andrew's arrest, her family, her siblings, released a statement that said their broken hearts had finally been lifted. They said he was never a prince. They said Virginia did this for survivors everywhere. And they thanked the police for proving that no one is above the law, not even royalty.
And then here's the mic drop, Lauren. A picture of Virginia Giuffre, the late Virginia Giuffre, as a much younger woman, with the words, "And maybe it will make sense now why VG," clearly a reference to Virginia Giuffre, "originally wanted Meghan to testify at her trial."
But here's the detail that mainstream media never followed up on. In December 2021, Virginia's attorney, David Boyce, told the Daily Beast that his team was considering deposing Meghan Markle as a witness in the civil case against Andrew. His reasoning was straightforward. Meghan lived in the US, which made jurisdiction simple. She had spent time around Andrew as a family member and may have observed his behavior or heard conversations about it. And Boy believed she could be counted on to tell the truth.